Yo, what is up mga paps? Welcome to the Fantasy Basketball Page Podcast. At of course, ito ang inyong NBA Fantasy Papi Roy in the house. Nasa ano na tayo? Conference finals ng NBA. So, of course, this is our NBA post-season episodes. So, medyo out of fantasy context muna. Medyo focus muna tayo dun sa NBA in reality. Pero, i-ensure natin na maglalabas pa rin tayo ng episodes about fantasy basketball and medyo papahapyawan din natin yan doon sa mga punto natin. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, uh, step 1 natin dun sa mga sumusuporta sa ating podcast, subscribe naman kayo dun sa ating YouTube channel. Uh, Available din tayo dun sa Spotify, available din tayo sa Facebook, of course. And then, sa X, andun din tayo, NBA Fantasy Papi. So, search nyo lang Fantasy Basketball Page. Andyan tayo sa mga platform na yan. And then, every Monday, shoutout sa Radyo Pilipinas Dos Sports 918 AM. So, lagi tayong merong episode dyan. So, yung preview na ito, o yung initial insights natin, actually, kagigising ko lang ata nun. Na-post na natin yan couple of days ago. Actually, hindi pala couple of days. Nung Monday, kasi every Monday yung episode natin. Bago natin umpisahan yung ating balitaktakan o kwentuhan about playoffs ng Eastern and Western Finals, shoutout muna sa ating sponsor, ang pinakamasarap at pinaka-solid na liempo dito sa Laguna, Superbex Food Trip. So, kung hindi pa kayo nakakain dito at nagawi kayo sa Santa Rosa, Calamba, Tagapo, or around Pasita area, hanapin nyo lang yung Super Bex Food Trip branch doon. Available yung bangus, sisig, tapa, tocino at syempre yung pinagmamalaki nilang spicy liempo. Napakalupit niyan at napakalaki. Mas malaki pa sa palad mo. So, check nyo lang yan. Kung gusto nyo ng special treatment ng bahagya, sabihin nyo, sabi ni Papi Roy, ano daw, BP. Sabihin nyo lang pag umorder kayo BP, magugulat kayo kung gaano kalaki yung makukuha yung liempo. So, shout out sa Superbex Food Trip. Ayan. Okay. Punta na tayo dun sa ating conference finals. Umpisahan na natin yan agad-agad. Eastern Conference. So, ito without actually considering yung game 1 kanina. Okay? Kasi nag-start na yung game 1 eh. Hindi ko to na-record kagabi. So, today ko lang din na-record. So, hindi ko muna i-consider yung mga nangyari nung game 1. Pero, mag-stick ako doon sa mga points na tinake note ko nung nag-research ako and nag-analyze ako about these two teams. May mga mapapasadasan tayo na nangyari na kanina. Pero again, nangyari man yun o hindi, syempre hindi ako basta-basta magte-take ng credit kung nangyari siya o hindi. Mag-stick tayo doon sa initial analysis natin without considering yung mga results from game 1. Okay? So, umpisahan natin yung Boston Celtics yung inaabangan ng lahat dito kasi number 1 sila. So, medyo bigyan natin ng airtime itong Indiana Pacers. So, ano ba yung mga identity ng players ng Indiana Pacers? Saka ano yung dapat mangyari para matalo ng Indiana Pacers ang Boston Celtics? So, for me, isa sa obvious at malaking bagay talaga is yung pre-All-Star break na Halliburton. Kasi yung pre-All-Star break Halliburton, isa siya sa naging susi. Actually, siya yung naging susi nung pagkapanalo nila against the Boston Celtics nung in-season tournament. So, nasilat nila yung Boston Celtics noon. And then, iba talaga eh. Grabe yung pre-All-Star na Halliburton. Shoots efficiently, yung confidence, yung playmaking, andun lahat. So, if may babalik ni Hali yun consistently sa buong serye na to, Eastern Conference Finals, malaking bagay siya para sa Indiana Pacers. Of course, ang Boston Celtics, meron siyang defensive scheme against that. Pero knowing that Halliburton is a very good point guard, upcoming, hindi ko masasabi na polish na agad, pero upcoming parang successor ni CP3 to. Mala point guard kung magdesisyon. Though he's still in progress in terms of maturing. Kasi regular season is different from playoff or post season eh. So pag nasa playoff setup ka na, iba na yung pressure, iba na yung dynamics ng laro. At we haven't seen Tyrese Halliburton that much in terms of paano ba siya mag-mature, paano siya mag-adjust. This is going to be his first Eastern Conference Finals experience. So medyo ito tone down natin yung expectation natin from Halliburton in terms of playing like a point guard. Ikalma muna natin. Pero upside is there and again, if maulit na yung how he played pre-All-Star season, malaking bagay 'yon. Lagi na 'to nababanggit, yung pace, flow, ball movement. So gusto ko lang reiterate. Bakit importante siyang reiterate? Kasi ito yung para sa akin talaga, ito yung nagustuhan ko kay Indiana Pacers nung tinutukan ko siya against New York Knicks eh. Especially yung ball movement. Compared to other teams, isa talaga si Indiana Pacers na starts strong and fast every game. Makikita mo, ang bilis ng ikot ng bola. They're actually searching for mismatches, for mistakes from the opponent defensively. And then, yun talaga yung inaatake nila. And Tyrese Halliburton is their orchestrator as well as TJ McConnell. So, yung dalawang guards nila na yan yung nagtitimon dun sa kanilang ball movement. So, let's see if they can do that sa Boston Celtics. It is going to be big. I think ang Boston Celtics kasi medyo, hindi ko naman sinasabing pangit yung sistema nila. It's more of like hindi sila katulad hindi sila sobrang solid in terms of varieties and in terms of system in the half court sets kasi heavily reliable sila sa perimeter shooting nila, heavily reliable sila sa kick out pass either from Jalen Brown or from Jason Tatum, which could actually be good if it works or if hindi naman kailangan talaga nilang rebound no, dahil ayun dito papasok yung uh, sinasabi natin na live and die in 3 points. So they're number one offensive team in the league, and that one big reason is because they're shooting a lot of threes and they have a decent percentage in doing that. Kaya hindi ko naman masasabi na that's a bad move. Yun talaga yung identity nila. Pero yun nga, since iba yung dynamics ng laro ng Indiana Pacers in comparison sa mga huling nakalaban ng Boston, let's see if sino yung magkocontrol ng pace, yung bang Indiana Pacers o yung Boston. And in the past couple of rounds, nakikita ko na itong Indiana Pacers, the more that they control the pace, the better chances they have in winning. I think based dun sa round 1 at round 2 na nakita ko sa Indiana Pacers, if they are active and they actually are physical uh, in the court, meaning defensively, rotating over screens, rotating sa mga player, double team, and then offensively naman, cutting, screen then as well, drop coverage. Dun sa mga ganong bagay, kapag talagang active sila, physically, medyo magugulat nila siguro itong Boston Celtics kasi ibang-iba yung dynamics ng Miami Heat sa Cleveland Cavaliers eh. Aside from undermanned din sila, wala yung mga main players ng mga teams na yon. Feeling ko itong Indiana Pacers could get uh, one thing or slight advantage with that physicality. Thing is, ito kasi Boston, paper-wise, yung mga players nila, hindi mo basta-basta mapipisikal eh. Yung wings nila is big enough to either cover mas malaki na players or mas maliit na players. So, it is more of like really doing that consistently for 48 minutes, I guess. So, doon siguro magkakasukatan to. Napag-usapan na natin yung pagpupush ng tempo ni Halliburton, no? Pero gusto ko din i-point out dito na kapag in the moment na to si Halliburton, mas nagwo-work well yung offense ni Pascal Siakam sa ni Miles Turner kasi nag-open up yung two-man game nila eh. Uh, para sa akin, malaking angulo to kasi ang Boston Celtics aren't really a good defensive team against two-man games, mga pick and rolls. That's the reason why kung sakali sana or kung nakapasok ang Denver Nuggets sa Boston, I was thinking sobrang mahihirapan ng Boston Celtics kahit na Piesa-wise, mas madaming magagaling na players at mas kompleto sila as a roster, no? So masusukat 'yan dito sa Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers hindi naman sobrang 'yun ang bread and butter nila, pero uh, ma-utilize nila yung strengths ni Pascal Siakam saka ni Miles Turner. Miles Turner known for his outside shooting as a big man. That goes as well with Pascal Siakam pero more on mid-range, 'di ba? And then of course, medyo physical din maglaro to si Pascal Siakam. So let's see if Haliburton can get those two working and getting better shots and more comfortable dun sa area na talagang strengths nila. Malaking bagay yun kasi it's a new dynamic eh. Kaya nga, noong mga nakaraang rounds, nabanggit ko na malaking bagay talaga yung pag-acquire ng Indiana Pacers kay Siakam kasi nagkaroon ng different dynamic. So if hindi nagwo-work yung pace, if na-counter yun, if nahihirapan si Tyrese Haliburton, they can easily go to Pascal Siakam for on the low post and then yun, one-on-one. Pwede, Pascal Siakam can make things happen there. Not as good as the Jokic's of the league, pero remember, si Pascal Siakam, in all fairness to him, ano naman to eh, former champ. So I think experience is there, body is there, physicality is there. So it is a good option. Hindi ko alam kung sino tataw sa kanya, posibleng si Jason Tatum. Pero in the past couple of games, napansin ko na ginagamit ni Mazzulla si Jrue Holiday or Jaylen Brown as defender sa loob kasi I guess si Brown kasi physical eh. Pero agile siya. And then, ganun din naman si Jrue Holiday, pero defensive, uh, gifted talaga si Jrue Holiday in terms of IQ. So, posibleng ganun, pagkatapos help defense na lang kasi undermanned naman in the front court ng Boston Celtics. Eh. So, let's see kung makakapag-capitalize si Siakam doon. Hopefully, aside from that, mahulog din niya yung mga free throws niya kung sakaling talagang yun yung maging point of offense ng Indiana Pacers somewhere down the road dahil hindi maganda yung performance ni Siakam sa free throw eh. Hindi siya consistent. So malaking bagay yan dahil they're going up against a very good offensive team. So every point counts. Another thing is ito talaga yung nakikita kung hahanap ka ng advantage sa Indiana Pacers over the Boston Celtics, I'm looking at their bench kasi in the past two rounds, yun talaga yung naging lamang or edge ng Indiana Pacers kasi they have solid bench na consistently providing value since round one. So I'm talking about TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, and even Ben Shepherd. So Ben Shepherd low-key na has good 3-point percentage since round one. Pero talaga si TJ Maxx kasi Obi Toppin, kumakwarenta nga to, hati sila eh. Especially yung dynamic kapag andun sila pareha sa court. Bumibilis yung laro, TJ McConnell mas penetrate and pass yung laro niya kasa kay Tyrese Haliburton eh. Si Tyrese Haliburton nag-ooperate siya on top of the key eh. Si TJ McConnell pinapaigot niya yung rotation eh. Sasalak sa kanya, susugudin niya. So ang nangyayari napipilitan yung depensa na mag-shift ng rotation, which for me is good kasi you're creating in a sense chaos eh doon sa defensive scheme ng kalaban. And then Obi Toppin of course known for his athleticism, he offers that yung cut, yung follow-up, rebounding. Defensively, hindi siya ganun kasi, yung problema niya kasi athletic man siya, hindi siya ganun kabilis eh. So I doubt na magiging good matchup siya against Jason Tatum or even Jaylen Brown dahil mabagal siya. So malamang may iwanan si Obi Toppin. Pero still, in terms of athleticism, hindi nila basta-basta uh, ma, 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 maikakaila na pag kumakat si Obi Toppin offensively, kapag nakukuha niya yung bola in transition, wala din silang panapat doon kay Obi Toppin. So I guess that's the reason why si Obi Toppin score din niya ng more than 13 points and above in the past couple of games dito sa playoffs eh. Ang ganda pa kay Obi Toppin, na-improve niya yung shooting niya from the outside. So whenever he gets freed, kayang-kaya niya mag-provide ng perimeter shooting. So, another dynamic kapag andun yung bench ng Indiana Pacers. So, let's see kung makakapag-take advantage ang Indiana Pacers kasi okay din naman eh. Decent naman yung bench ng Boston Celtics. They have shooters there. Pest versus Pest kasi TJ McConnell versus Peyton Pritchard. Parang may nabasa nga ako parang si TJ McConnell daw yung Jordan ng lahat ng mga Peyton Pritchard. So, let's see kung ano mangyayari dun sa dalawa. Sino yung mas mananaig. Peyton Pritchard has been shooting very well. Above average of the bench para dito sa Boston Celtics. And then you also have Sam Hauser na talagang ano eh, yun yung parang ano nila eh, hindi naman siya mascot, pero para siyang si Red Mamba, kumbaga. Pag pinasok siya, he brings a different energy plus sobrang solid the shooter ni Sam Hauser. So, itong tatlong to, TJ Mack, Obi Toppin at Ben Shepherd naman yung panlaban ng Indiana Pacers. Aside from that, ano pa ba yung angulo na nakikita ko? Well, si Jason Tatum mahirap i-cover. Let's see if Nesmith can actually slow him down. Hindi ko nakikita na basta-basta mas slow down si Jason Tatum. Though, ang difference kasi ng isang Jason Tatum compared to an Anthony Edwards or lalo-lalo doon sa mga Luka Doncic at si Gilgeous Alexander is more like decision making saka yung ewan ko, I don't know if it's just me, pero nakikita si Jason Tatum kasi talagang hindi ko siya nakikita nung killer instinct wherein parang nakakaamoy ng dugo. Na, alam mo yun, kapag ikaw yung number one offensive player, alam mo eh, yung kinakain mo yung kalaban eh. Si Jason Tatum kasi sometimes kapag pinisikal mo siya, na-off yung laro niya, most of the time ang nangyayari pipilitin niya ng pipilitin sa perimeter contested shot. Well, in fact, sobrang athletic ni Jason Tatum na palagi ko wala makapag-cover sa kanya sa Indiana Pacers. So, sa playoffs kasi may mga ganun rin eh. Yung biglang matutulala yung team or masyasyak yung team dahil sa pinakita ng ng kalaban, di ba? Even the Denver Nuggets had those moments against the Minnesota Timberwolves kasi parang boom nung nag-click yung defensive sa offensive ng Minnesota, walang nagawa ang ano eh, ang Denver Nuggets. So, if magagawa ng Indiana Pacers sa Boston Celtics yun, malaking problema para sa Boston Celtics kasi again, yung mga main man nila work is good, mula not taking away from them, pero feeling ko hindi pa ganun ka-tested in crunch time. And then And then, ano pa ba yung mga nasa notes ko dito? Wala na siguro. Siguro yun yung, well, coaches, for me, dun sa coach, though, bago-bago pa rin si Mazula, pero hindi ko alam eh. Scheme-wise, strategy-wise, I think, parehas namang solid yung dalawang coaches. Pero, nagdududa lang ako sa defensive scheme ni Rick Carlisle. I think, um, bata pa kasi yung Indiana Pacers. So what I'm trying to say here is ang since bata pa ang Indiana Pacers, feeling ko there could be some discrepancy in terms of ano yung mas appropriate na strategy for them. Offensively, wala akong question. Pero defensive wise, medyo may questions ako, especially against Boston Celtics na everyone in the starting five can actually, contribute offensively at any point in time. Sumusunod lang talaga sila sa sistema nila. Pero sa totoo lang, kayang-kaya nilang atakihin itong Indiana Pacers, either of those five. So, yun, medyo questionable sa akin para kay Rick Carlisle yun. In the past, in the actual regular season, para sa akin, yun yung naging problema nila. Another thing is rebounding. So, since noon ng Boston Celtics na um, mahilig talagang tumira perimeter, live and die sa tres. So, if they can actually get those 50-50 balls, if they can get those offensive rebounds, malaking bagay yan para sa Indiana Pacers kasi walang Kristaps Porzingis eh. Hindi din known ang Boston Celtics to have a very good front court. not the bestest rebounding team as well. So that's something na sana hopefully natutunan ng Indiana Pacers against the New York Knicks doon sa laban nila. Boston Celtics naman, uh, siguro ang kailangan ko lang reiterate dito is they have to really be composed eh. They are successful kung ano man yung sistemang in-implement nila. The whole regular season they've been doing that, and then they've been winning in high percentage when they're on point. So it's just a matter of them beating themselves eh. Adjustment will always be there, adjusting against Pascal Siakam, adjustment against the pace, pero surprisingly nung chinek ko si Boston Celtics, actually transition defense nila solid eh. So kaya nilang sabayan, I guess, sa pace ang Indiana Pacers. 48 minutes yun ang tanong. Hindi ko sure kung if talagang high octane game yung labanan. I'm not yet sure kung kaya ni Boston Celtics yan. Pero again, you're talking about very good players. At least 8-man rotation ng Boston. Those are very good players already. So I doubt na hindi nila kayang sabayan. They have good defenders, Jrue Holiday, Derek White, si Jason Tatum saka si Jaylen Brown are good defenders as well. And then medyo matanda na si Al Horford pero you know, IQ wise, yun naman ang advantage niya. So siguro ano to eh, it's more of like them embracing their roles. Also yung strategy ni Mazzulla against the Indiana Pacers kung paano nila i-implement yun. Like for example, Drew Holiday needs to really step up kasi nakikita ko siya as the Kyrie Irving of Boston Celtics in comparison to Dallas eh. They have a young players with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Pero there are several times talaga na they aren't really making the correct decisions or they tend to be hindi naman passive eh. More of like hindi nil ewan ko lang, again, this is still a mystery for me. Nakakapagtaka that they're settling in low percentage shots. I understand the defense, di ba? Pero, I mean, yun na yung identity ng team mo, yun na yung pyesa ng team mo. So, bakit hindi gumagawa ng plays for them para to really fully utilize yung athleticism ng dalawa? Kasi, minsan talaga when there's adversity, hindi pa for me proven itong dalawang to. Uh, Again, not taking away credit from the Boston Celtics. Nakita natin to against Miami na Miami is a different type of team wherein they don't have a lot of stars. Pero they always pushed the Boston Celtics to the corner every year. So that alone for me is a problem. And then para sa akin, ang difference this season is you have someone like Drew Holiday to help Al Horford, I guess, to, pacify that. So I'm expecting Jrue Holiday to set the tone para dun sa dalawang young stars nila. Etong si Derek White, if you haven't really watched him nung nasa San Antonio Spurs pa siya, ganito lang yung laro talaga niya. So he's going to be active the whole time. Buong kanto, buong every inch of the court, makikita mo yan si Derek White. So, I'm expecting that from him. Pero, para alam mo yun, asahan siya offensively, I think that should be, not, hindi siya priority. It's more of like, dapat organic na lang siyang mangyari. Kasi kapag ganun, ibig sabihin, Indiana Pacers have been is doing a good job containing yung mga stars nila. Kapag biglang kay Derek White na kayo, si ang Boston Celtics umaasa. Not saying na hindi reliable si Derek White, pero come on, you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in your team, di ba? Para biglang si Derek White yung aasahan mo, not organically or not by play, something's wrong. Um, Al Horford, feeling ko ito yung butas ng depensa ng Boston Celtics. I've seen him crumble in isolation against faster and more athletic guards. So let's see how Indiana Pacers actually, utilize that. Yun yung difference between having a Kristaps Porzingis and Hal Horford. Pero understanding the match here, not saying din naman na hindi kaya talaga ng Indiana Pacers ang Boston. Feeling ko hindi mamadaliin ng Boston Celtics si Kristaps Porzingis unless i-pressure talaga ng Indiana Pacers ang Boston Celtics. Um, what else? Ayun. Ito almost similar to kay Anthony Edwards eh. For me, it's all about the decision making. It's all about the reads. It's been Jason Tatum against Jason Tatum himself eh. He's a very gifted player. Inside outside defensively, para sa akin Swiss Army man ito si Jason Tatum. That goes as well to some extent with Jaylen Brown though dribbling wise. Wala akong mga vibes phenomenal nito ni Jaylen Brown eh. Pero again, those two gifted sila eh. So it's just a matter of really utilizing those gifts against the adversity. And then, yun nga, feeling ko yun din yung tema na marami nagsasabi na ay hindi masyado nasukat itong Indiana Pacers. Tapos sasabihin naman ng mga fans ng Indiana Pacers, bakit? Na-try na namin yan nung mga nakaraang season eh. Pero yun nga eh, feeling ko the reason why maraming hindi masyado fan ng Boston and even tong sina Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown kasi they haven't really, parang the standard sa kanya expectation masyadong mataas kasi nga solid talaga sila ng mga players. And then yung structure ng organization plus yung team composition solid. Pero hindi natin nakikita nagdo-dominate sila na sobra. So, and then despite having a good performance this season, even dun sa mga nakaraang laro against Cavs and against Miami Heat na undermanned na, ano eh, hindi ko of course, yung mga games na iba talagang natatambakan. Pero yun nga, medyo matalas kasi yung fans eh. Parang expectation wise, hindi pwedeng may mga games na nako-question yung decision making at yung type of play nung dalawang to. Maybe that's the reason why ganun pag-receive ng tao sa Boston Celtics at doon sa dalawang stars na to. Pero let's see if those two can prove everyone wrong. Kasi ako, naging hesitant din ako eh. Parang medyo mas fair ako, I guess. Pero still, if you're putting your names on top of a lot of good players, ibig sabihin meron din talagang standard na nag-aabang sa'yo. So, the fans should actually be open to that context, no? Hindi pwedeng lahat ng positive lang. So, yun. Again, essentially, batang team pa rin naman ng Celtics. Experience-wise, they've been, what, 6 times na in the last 8 playoffs. Itong since 2010s pa. So, ano na to? Hindi pa, mga 2014, 16, ganun. So, itong sina Jason Tatum, ano na siya, acquainted na, comfortable na siya sa playoffs. So, it's going to be about them showing that. And then, wag nilang sabayan yung Indiana Pacers sa gusto nilang mangyari kasi it's a different uh, it's a different tempo eh. Hindi ganito yung laro ng Boston Celtics. So if that's gonna happen, masisisi talaga sila kasi they are the leaders of the team. Verdict. So anong verdict natin dito sa matchup na to? Real talk. So both teams essentially fought against injury-riddled teams in round 1 and round 2. Indiana against Bucks na walang Giannis. Indiana against Knicks na wala lahat. Hindi naman wala lahat. Pero almost mawala na lahat after ano ba yun, game 2 ata, di ba? And then Boston naman against Miami no lang Butler pagkatapos against Cleveland na walang Donovan Mitchell. This is not actually discrediting both teams. For me lang talaga, iba nyo kasi yung playoffs. I understand, solid sa regular season. Yung mga nakaraang playoffs, totally fine. Pero again, we're talking about now eh. So, pag tinignan nyo yung Eastern sa Western Conference, grabe talaga yung competition sa Western Conference. So this is in preparation for the actual NBA finals. So if you haven't been tested that much, it doesn't mean na hindi ka na mananalo. What I'm trying to say is, magkakaroon ka ng disadvantage kasi we're talking about a playoff 7 game series setup. Iisang team lang yung paghahandaan mo. So yung mentality, yung preparation completely different. So if sobrang kinakain mo na kinakain yung mga kalaban mo, then look at the Denver Nuggets. Last year, uh, breezy. That goes as well first round this year. Pero bigla silang nakatapat ng Minnesota. Nakita natin kung paano talaga nag-falter yung composure ng Denver Nuggets. So that's what I'm trying to say. Even a great team like the Denver Nuggets experience that dahil yun nga mahirap the coaching staff and the organization can only do so much. Hindi naman pwedeng i-adjust ko yung buong team para sa 29 teams, di ba? Na para maging ready. Uh, there will always be a weakness and there will always be a strength. So feeling ko para masanay ka how to adjust during the first couple of rounds could be an advantage. Pero posibleng advantage yan para sa Indiana Pacers. They actually won several times on the road. So again, that could be a slight advantage to them dahil kahit na pareha silang lumaban sa mga sa injury-riddled teams, mas nasukat ang Indiana Pacers. Pero it doesn't mean na I'm taking away credit from Boston. Eh wala malakas talaga yung Boston. So hindi talaga sila nasukat, di ba? So gusto ko lang i-point out to kasi I think given na 7 game series to, assuming na umabot ng game 7, para saan magmamatter yon. Yung comfortability, playing on the road, comfortability, adjusting, biglang mababago yung atake mo in response dun sa ginagawa ng kalaban. So, that's going to be one point uh, for me to decide the verdict. Another thing is players. So, role-wise, saka composition-wise, solid naman yung team ng Indiana Pacers. Pero kasi ang Boston Celtics, yung role players nila can have a different role in other teams eh. Alam mo yun? Like for example, Jrue Holiday and Derek White na, well, ngayon nagagamit na rin offensively. Pero most of the time they're used as, uh, sorry, nagagamit na rin offensively, no? So they are used as defensive backcourt sa Boston Celtics kasi meron na nga silang main man. Pero pag ilagay mo yun sa ibang team, katulad dati ni Derek White sa Spurs, kaya niyang magdala eh. Kumbaga kaya niyang maging number one or number two guy sa isang team. So, that alone is an advantage for the Boston Celtics. Kasi if yung initial na schemes nila at plays nila is not working, then kaya nilang mag-step up dahil yung mga piyesa nila can actually do that. So, malaki talagang advantage para sa Boston Celtics. Nonetheless, after lahat nung nilatag natin, unless Boston Celtics gets cocky or gets careless or masyadong pabayaan yung ibang aspeto ng game nila at no, may love masyado sa perimeter without doing other aspect of the game like for example rebounding, defending and all, mayayari sila ng Indiana Pacers. Pero if they keep their identity, execute lang na yung usual na ginagawa nila, then I guess it's not going to be too hard for anyone to see na kaya na I mean this is Boston Celtics all over the picture. Eh. Pero I am still giving I'm still seeing an angle wherein Indiana Pacers will win games. They're a confident young bunch. They have the pieces. They're still growing. Pero I still think na kaya nilang manalo ng couple of games. So with that said, ang verdict ko dito, it's going to be Boston Celtics in 6. Posible, I'm thinking with the trend na lagi natatalo ang Boston Celtics sa second game nila. This time I think posible na hindi. Kasi alam mo yun, ang dami mong oras to really pick up yourself and to plan it out. Feeling ko yun yung isa sa pag-focus nila. Oy, bakit pa tayo lagi natatalo ng second game? Sa home pa. So, posible na they start the series wild, and then protect those two games in their home court. But then again, they are going to take at least one from the Indiana Pacers in the road game. So, ayun, looking at this, ano pa ba? Oh, by the way, bago natin i-continue the Western Conference, personally, puso-wise, ang gusto ko sana talaga ay Indiana Pacers sa Mavs just for the sake of, fun. Uh, and then, pero itong logical na aspect naman, I think it's just Boston Celtics just too it's too much for the Indiana Pacers. So, ayun. Let's go Boston Celtics in 6. May chance ba na ma-sweep ang Indiana Pacers? Yes. Sabi ko nga kanina, ideally kapag magawa ng Boston Celtics yung plano nila, then actually yung identity nila, then it's going to be hard to defend a very good team that shoots a lot of threes, 'di ba? Lamang na agad lagi ng isa-isang puntos 'yan. So, ayun, malaking bagay siya. Another point pa pala dito, I think Jason Tatum is the best player in this series. So, almost all of the hedges nandun kay Boston Celtics. IQ-wise, coaching-wise, I'm gonna give that as well to the Boston Celtics. By, hindi naman sobrang laki yung difference ni Bazula sa ni Kyle, for me by a couple of strands, but I'm still giving it to the Boston Celtics. So, ayan. Game 6, Boston Celtics. Okay, punta naman tayo sa West. Ito, medyo mas masayang bakbakan to. Mas masaya talaga, no? Parang sinasabi ko na hindi talaga masaya yung Eastern Conference. Everybody know na kayang i-zero ng Boston Celtics itong Indiana Pacers. So, they have to really play better. Okay, for the um, Western Conference, let's see. Umpisa natin sa Dallas Mavericks. Dahil alam kong maraming Minnesota na to. Um, Personally, a lot of people are saying that after winning against the defending champ, liyamadong-liyamado ng Minnesota. Technically, that's true. Pero I think it's closer than it looks like. I've been watching the Mavs since round one. And then, actually, just a couple of weeks bago matapos yung regular season, wherein they actually led the league in defensive rating, at least at par with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So doon pa lang, in comparison to the Denver Nuggets, of course, Denver Nuggets is a different beast. Para siyang holistic si Denver Nuggets. Ang point ko lang is, Dallas is a better defensive team than the Denver Nuggets. So that's an advantage. Another thing is, in comparison to the Denver Nuggets, ang Dallas Mavericks kasi, yung point of attack nila is coming from two high-level playmaker in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Nawala ang Denver Nuggets. Majority ng trigger point ng offense ng Denver Nuggets is coming from, well, Jokic lang. Mahirap kasing sabihin na point of offense si Jamal Murray kasi na-contain siya ng Minnesota eh. Hindi siya talaga, actually kahit hindi siya ma-contain, in general, hindi din ganun talaga ka sobrang point of offense si Jamal Murray. Technically, kasi two-man game siya. So, laging ang trigger point, mapapapansin nyo kay Nikola Jokic. in comparison dito kay Luka saka kay Kyrie, kaya nilang sumalaksak pareho eh mag-penetrate eh. Nung kalaban ng Minnesota ang Denver kasi almost si Jokic lang nagpe-penetrate. Si si Jamal Murray is getting his shots because it's coming from a pass uh, from Nikola Jokic. So that's completely different dynamic. So para sa akin, since magkaiba yung atake, um it's going to be, I guess, interesting kung paano magma-match up Minnesota sa Mavs. If you're thinking na basta-basta lang mala-lockdown ni na Jaden McDaniels itong si Luka Doncic, you're getting ahead of yourselves, guys. This is a 6'7" guard, high IQ, mabagal pero malaki yung katawan at napakalayo para na ikumpara sa katulad ni Jamal Murray, 'di ba? Or even sino ba yun? Sina Devin Booker at si Bradley Beal. So this is a different beast in Luka. That goes as well with Kyrie Irving kasi hindi man kalaki si Kyrie Irving. In the last two rounds, the Minnesota Timberwolves haven't played uh, a type of guard na katulad ni Kyrie Irving. Malupit mag-dribble, composed, at siya pa yung vet dito sa team na to. So, again, not saying na mag-work lahat yon, pero it's going to be interesting kung paano i-cover ng Minnesota yon. Ang mga points ko pa dito is, yun, going back to Jaden McDaniels, during the regular season, binabaksakan ng 30 points ni Lucas si Jaden McDaniels eh. So I doubt na solo lang niya basta. Siyempre, hindi din naman basta-basta natin masasabi na magagawa ni Luka yon the whole series. Pero m- my point is, he's comfortable. That goes as well with Dort eh. Kasi nung kalaban nila si Dort ng OKC, for me, it's Luka versus Luka eh. Hindi na talaga nahuhulog yung mga tira niya. He was comfortable actually. Uh, nakakainis. Pesky defender kasi si si Dort, lagi siyang nasa harap, hindi mo siya basta-basta may iwanan. Ito naman kasi si Jaden McDaniels, hindi mo siya may iwanan kasi mahaba siya. So, yun yung difference. Kasi Jaden McDaniels magaling bumasa ng screens eh. So, yung getting on top of the screen, getting over and under the screen. So, yun yung solid kay Jaden McDaniels. So, for me, yun yung difference against Dort. Pero both of them, binaksakan sila ng almost 30 points di ba, during regular season. And then nung round 2, I doubt na basta nahirapan si Luka. Again, it's more of like Luka versus Luka. Hindi, it's either dahil sa health niya na hindi siya 100% or may mga instances talaga na lumalay-lay yung laro niya eh. Parang nagiging complacent siya o kaya minsan nawawala ng loob dahil bata pa rin naman to si Luka Doncic, no? So hindi pa nawawala sa kanya yun. Still, we're talking about different caliber in terms of their backcourt. So malalaman natin sa Minnesota Timberwolves yan. Another thing is, nabanggit ko nga dahil better defensively ang Dallas. So bakit? Kasi they have two athletic towers in Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. And then you also have more athletic KCP, which is si Derek Jones Jr. So si KCP, IQ-wise, mas lamang siya. Pero kasi, yun nga eh, parang si Jaden McDaniels, mahaba kasi si Derek Jones Jr. Ang naiisip ko lang dito, athletic freak din naman itong si Anthony Edwards. So, strength-wise, kung i-cover siya ni Derek Jones, payat kasi si Derek Jones Jr. eh. So, sa palagay ko, hindi din basta-basta masi-single coverage ni Derek Jones Jr. itong si Anthony Edwards. Nabanggit ko kanina si Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving needs to step up. Yung vet presence niya importante, especially sa playoffs. Naging problema ng Dallas Mavericks minsan, lumalayla yung offense nila, hinahayaan na lang nila na magsalitan si Lucas at si Kyrie. So that's going to be a problem against a very good defensive team in Minnesota. So kailangan mag-step up ni Kyrie. He needs to set the tone. Of course, kailangan din niyang i-ensure na ikalma yung team every time na nagfo-falter. Kasi tulad ng Denver Nuggets, nung nagulpi-tigulat sila ng Minnesota, natulala na lang sila minsan even Nikola Jokic. So again, composure-wise, kailangan talaga na um, uh, maging leader itong si Kyrie Irving. Most of the time hinahayaan niya, kumbaga siya yung literal na ano nag-embody nung let him cook, let him cook. Parang ganun yung ginagawa niya kay Luka Doncic eh. Hinahayaan niya si Luka eh. Pero for this time, kailangan hindi lagi ganun. Kailangan ano sila, meron silang strategy ni Luka and kailangan niyang i-complement talaga si Luka and sometimes take away the ball from Luka kapag nakita niya na alanganin na dahil yun nga tendencies wise may tendency talaga si Luka na hindi ko alam eh kung may iniinda pa siya. Pero weird eh. Kasi kung may iniinda siya, pag naman offensive, biglang mamamain niya yung kalaban niya. So parang, ewan ko. Not to say na itong si Luka may attitude problem. Thing is, attitude problem o hindi, feeling ko attitude problem, yes. Nakita naman natin kung paano siya mag-wine sa referees. Pero in the past last game against the OKC Thunder, nung nag-hyper-focus siya, hindi na siya nagwa-wine. Solid na yung performance niya. So, let's see if we get that hyper-focused Luka Doncic in this series. Last point siguro para sa akin, something different based on the regular season. Hindi pa nakatapat ng Minnesota ang Dallas na meron ng PJ Washington. So, PJ Washington has been playing very well. I'm not expecting na he's going to be lights out in this series. Bakit? Kasi we're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, the number one defensive team in the league. So, yung mga easy or open shots ni Derek Jones Jr. saka ni PJ Washington, 100% nilabas na basta makukuha yun dito sa seryeng to. So, um, that is going to be a challenge for them. Plus, sila din yung defense against this big and long Minnesota Timberwolves. So, 48 minutes, kaya ba nilang gawin yun? Worst case scenario, mamimiss nila si Maxi Kleber kasi si Maxi Kleber, kaya niya mag-stretch dahil itong si Nasrid saka si Karl Anthony Towns, kaya mag-stretch eh. So, may hirapan si Derek Lively sa si Gafford na umibabaw. Talagang drop coverage lang. Pwede, i-ice nila yung opensa. So, yun yung nakita kong schema. Minnesota Timberwolves, again, wag natin ilagay sa pedestal ang Minnesota. Defensive wise, wala akong masasabi. Feeling ko, yun, nabanggit ko kanina, I think Jaden McDaniels gonna cover Luka. Anthony Edwards could cover Kyrie, and then Tower versus Tower, Cat versus PJ. Feeling ko naman standard. Ang gusto ko lang i-point out dito, dahil kaya nabanggit ko kanina, wag natin ilagay sa pedestal lang mini. Kasi nakita natin yung lakas ng Minnesota. Nakita din naman natin yung weakness ng Minnesota, which is the offense. So the moment na makontain itong si Anthony Edwards or si Karl Anthony Towns, may nahihirapan talaga yung Minnesota na makakuha ng another scorer. Kaya ang sobrang valuable ni Mike Conley at kaya sobrang valuable na consistent contribution ni Jaden McDaniel sa kanina Nasrid. Point about Nasrid is he's a firecracker pero para sa akin, hindi pa siya ganun ka-reliable eh. Na biglang, oy, iasa na lang agad natin kay Nasrid. Kasi kung iisipin mo, papalitan niya si Karl Anthony Towns. And if there's a reason kung bakit hindi gumagawa si Karl Anthony Towns, aside sa foul trouble, malamang, hindi din yung do-depensa kay Nasrid, di ba? So, alam mo yun, so feeling ko, huwag masyadong basta asahan si Nasrid on that. And to the point na yun mismo din yung kailangang mangyari para ma-ensure ng Minnesota na hindi sila masisilat ng Dallas Mavericks. So for Nasrid to actually be ready if that happens. I've talked about Jaden McDaniels, sobrang solid ng pinakita niya. Laging sinasabi ni Anthony Edwards, he's actually the MVP of the past 2 rounds. I agree, just because of the defensive activity of Jaden McDaniels. Sobrang lupit bumasa ng screens ni Jaden McDaniels. Sobrang lupit nung assessment niya or reads niya in filling gaps in terms of defending their opponents. So ito lang yung punto ko. Sa kabilang side, alam niyo ba kung sino gumagawa nun? Trivia, no? Nung niresearch ko yan at pinanood ko ulit, actually, Luka is doing that. Surprisingly, to you guys, ako din, ang sorpresa, Luka actually did a great job filling those gaps and reading those defense. Kasi nga, high IQ player siya eh. So, it's just so happy na is lower than usual. Pero yun again, when I say filling gaps and reading the defense, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be athletic and block or steal every possession. Ang kagandahan kay Luka, dumidepensa siya. He's showing his hands, fini-fill niya yung mga gap kapag merong alanganin, angles kung saan mo dadalhin yung player pag ina-ice mo, hindi. Si Luka yung nakakabasa nun. So, that's meaning madaming gagawin si Luka. So Jaden McDaniel is going to be big kasi if hindi na 100% healthy si Luka tapos mapapagod pa siya, mukhang silang dalawa ni Luka yung magbabantayan kasi Luka can't actually guard an Anthony Edwards one-on-one eh. So malamang either si Conley or si Jaden McDaniels ang cover ni Luka. So Jaden McDaniels should make Luka pay as well defensively para talagang mapagod itong si Luka. Thing is, guys, eto si Jaden McDaniels hasn't been known and hasn't been consistent enough for the whole season as an offensive threat. In the past couple of games, crucial na nangyari yon sa against the Denver Nuggets. If that didn't happen, they won't win. To be honest, kasi silang dalawa lang ni Kat ano wither nung storm nung game 7 eh. So, dito hopefully magawa ulit nila yon actually ni Jaden McDaniels kasi kung hindi, it's going to be a problem. That goes as well with Kat. Same thing. Um, defensive MVP and offensive MVP si Kat actually game 7 against the Denver Nuggets. So kailangan niya ipakita to sa against the Dallas Mavericks in the whole series. Napansin ko though wala pa si PJ Washington nun at may mga at alam ko hindi din naglaro ata si Gobert nung isang game against Dallas nung napanood kong mga regular season matchups. Sobrang confident at comfortable ni Luka against Cat. So, kung kanina, do sa Eastern Conference, nabanggit ko na baka hanapin nung backcourt ng Indiana si Al Horford in isolations or, in the island place. Ganon din si Luka dito. So, Cat should actually practice reading screens naman. In comparison to the Boston Celtics and Indiana Pacers, mas high-level quality yung defense and offensive reads ng Mavs sa Minnesota, even in two-man game. So, mas magiging crucial yun, yung pagbasa ng screens at paggamit ng screens actually. Another point dito siguro is, yun, Rudy Gobert and Kat and Nasrid against Lively and Gafford. So, malaking bagay yan. Almost the same ang difference lang is paano sila i-utilize. Kasi si Kat saka si Nasrid has an advantage playing outside of the perimeter. Samantalang itong si Gafford sa si Lively, wala, pero they are more athletic naman against those three. So, with that said, magiging malaking parte dito yung ensuring they won't get foul trouble plus ensuring to control those 50-50 balls and those offensive rebounds. Kasi battle of the bigs to eh. Mahaba at malaki ang Minnesota. Again, Denver Nuggets almost naglilin din doon yung strength nila. So, it's going to be interesting to see. Kasi may kakayahang dumipensa ang Dallas Mavericks. So, if they can do that to the Minnesota Timberwolves, hindi pa ganun kahinog yung offensive prowess nila. That's actually their weakness. So, masusuka talaga ang Minnesota dito sa Dallas Mavericks. Coaching-wise, I think bibigay ko sa Minnesota Timberwolves yun. Offensive-wise, ibibigay ko sa Dallas. Defensive-wise, ibibigay ko sa Minnesota. So, this is going to be a very good matchup for the Western Conference Finals. Meron silang vet presence parehas. Decent yung bench, pero I'm giving the bench to the Boston Celtics. Wala eh. Feeling ko, posible na maramdaman na ng Dallas Mavericks yung pagkawala ni Maxi Kleber dito. Kasi, Naz Reid, guys, two words. Pag yun talaga, yung ano. Sobrang lakas niya, lalo na kapag dikit or momentum ang Minnesota, mas na-appreciate ko si Nasrid. Kapag down sila kasi, minsan kasi, ano siya, na-overpower siya ng momentum ng kalaban. So they have to do it slowly defensively bago biglang boom, aatake na si Nasrid. Kasi kapag on point na or kumbaga nakalatag na si Nasrid yung pandiin eh. Yan talaga yung silbi ni Nasrid eh. Grabe talaga yung luxury if you have someone like Nasrid. Verdict. So sabi ko nga, I think personally, I doubt that this is going to be um, easy for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I also think that Dallas has a good chance to beat the Timberwolves. They have the pieces. Luka, if 100% healthy siya and he takes over games, I think he's the best player in this series. So, ang Minnesota naman, second gear ng kanilang depensa, sobrang solid. Anthony Edwards has grown a lot, has matured a lot. Yung duo nila ni Carl Anthony na has matured a lot in terms of adjustment, in terms of adapting in the playoff setup. So malaking bagay yun. Malaking bagay yun. Thing is, ganun din si Luka. So nagsabay sila ng maturity. So it's going to be interesting. Kung grabe yung nangyari sa Denver, Minnesota na matchup. For me, this could actually be at par or better just because you have someone like Luka na mas entertaining panoodin kesa kay Jokic in that aspect, no? Um, Sabi nila kayang-kayang i-sweep ng Minnesota to just because of the tendencies ng opensa ng Mavs, lalo na tong again Luka. Pero yun nga it can go either way kapag nawala sa hulog si Luka or hindi talaga siya 100% healthy. I would agree, yes. Mahihirapan ng Dallas na manalo without a healthy or laser focused Luka in their team. Pero if kabaligtaran naman, makuha naman nila yung talagang prime Luka, mahirapan naman ang Minnesota Timberwolves kasi sabi ko nga guys, this is a different defensive coverage for Jaden McDaniels in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Ibang type of si Luka. So, with that said, I still think that the Mavs can compete with Mini, but I will still be picking Minnesota Timberwolves to win the series. I was just contemplating kung Game 6 or Game 7 mananalo ang Minnesota. Pero just because of the variable na si Luka, na feeling ko it can either go both ways. I'll lean more on the positive side of things wherein feeling ko there could be a game or a couple of games wherein Luka takes over, stretching it to game 7. So ayun, Mini in 7, after everything that we've talked about, um, ang huling hibla sa akin kasi Minnesota has been playing together more than the Dallas Mavericks. They've built their team for like ilang years ba until now, 'di ba? So you have a veteran presence like Rudy Gobert and Conley na hindi na kailangan basta-basta mag-adjust. So with that said, yung cohesiveness ng Minnesota and then Finch as their coach, I think that's gonna matter in a playoff setup. So posibleng it can go either down the road, down the wire na game 7 nga or maisahan ng Dallas ang Minnesota, but still at the end of the day magmamatter yung cohesiveness nila as a team and yung how would they interpret and execute yung plays from Finch. So I'm gonna go Minnesota in 7. It's premature to say na Minnesota can actually dominate the Dallas Mavericks ng basta-basta. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too optimistic. Pero I'm still seeing na magiging maganda tong laban na to. So, yun. Um, Boston in 6 at Minnesota in 7 ang ating analysis. Ito yung initial din nating take, mga paps. Hindi ko na siya binago, actually. Ay, hinanapan ko lang ba ng butas para di siya mabago, pero ayun. Ayun, so maraming salamat mga papi. I hope nag-enjoy kayo dun sa quick breakdown natin. Ang ginawa ko palang approach dito, hindi ako masyado naglagay ng numbers pero pinag-iisipan ko pa kung next time ilalagay ko yun ng mga numbers kasi ang point ko is gusto ko siyang i-translate into a more digestible angle wherein even casual fans can actually better understand it para ma-share din naman natin yung hobby natin. So if you want na mas lagay din ako ng details, so let's try to do that. Dun sa Western Conference, so paghahandaan talaga natin, Western, sorry, yung NBA Finals na talaga. So paghandaan talaga natin yan. So ayun, maraming salamat mga Paps. Again, this has been your NBA Fantasy Papi, Papi Roy, Fantasy Basketball PH. Subscribe na kayo. Bye-bye!